says initializing live.
All right. Oh, that's a funny little thumbnail that I just decided to make there. Dr. Nick Mayo.
All right. How's it going, Cory?
Hello. What's up, friend?
Happy to be here, man.
I'm excited that you were able to join me. I mean, the conversations that we have are such fun ones that I figured we'll get one that's like here on the record,
I
and
like that.
and and then like I heard that other podcast that you were a guest on, and I was like, this might be a fun one. But like my podcasts are a little bit different than most other podcasts. So it's gonna be more like just chatting, just hanging. It'll be more like a friendly hangout than like a tell me about your story. Like give me the bullet points, everything. I'm not really into what I'm really into. I do like talking about your life experiences and your life lessons that you pulled from those, like the type that would like sort of inspire you. But I'm more about chipping away at like the the kind of the irrelevant parts of every other thing that just kind of like you'll eventually get to that sort of stuff inside of what I'm asking you.
Makes sense. I'm up for the challenge, Cory.
Well, I mean, I'm not promising you anything. No, no promises.
Yes.
Do you do you like Incubus?
I do like Incubus. Yeah.
There's that song, Promises, Promises.
Yep.
I love that one. It's one of my philosophies.
They're a great band. I love that whole genre of rock from that time period was great.
And me too, man. That's like they're in my top faves
That's
of
awesome.
bands. I I have seen them probably 4 times now.
Wow. Okay. That's like
Yeah,
me and Wu-Tang, man.
yeah. I've seen Wu Tang 0 times, but I mean, I wear Wu Tang shirts sometimes, and
That's awesome.
I when
Hey,
I was
Wu-Tang's for the children, man.
it is protect your neck,
That's right, man. As a
protect your childhood
chiropractor,
neck. As
yes,
a
sir.
chiropractor, that those words that inspired you to start your career in
The Protect Your
chiropractic.
Neck song did it for me, man.
That's actually a great origin story. You could tell anybody that, and
You
it
do.
wouldn't be that hard to believe.
I have Wu-Tang tatted on my chest, so it really wouldn't be hard to believe that, but that is unfortunately not my true origin story, but the true one is pretty cool anyway. So we'll get to that.
So you, um, I know you and I haven't talked too much about your time in the military. What what year was that? How young were you? Was it because you were just telling me right before this that like you were a high school dropout and like your story had gone from like all that to right where you are right now, and you're like a business owner and like running stuff and a dad and a husband and a music promoter and all that stuff. So just this mogul that you're becoming started from you being a young grunt, right?
Yes.
So what inspired you to want to be in were you like a soldier in any way, or were you just in the medical part?
So that, yeah, great question. like my tape and had probably watched it at like 7 or 8 years old, and it really like that movie played over and over again throughout my childhood. I always went to that movie, and I don't know why, but I was like drawn to it, and that's kind of crazy. But from the medic standpoint,
Which
I would say
movie?
Platoon,
Oh,
you know, like
Platoon.
Charlie Sheen and
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
William Defoe and stuff. It's kind of a crazy movie and a violent movie for sure, but also one that like really captured like the brotherhood of war and just like the whole scene, the way it played out. I was really drawn to the medic side of things. And early on, I always felt like I wanted to be a medic. And as a little boy, I wanted to be a medic in a war. I don't know why I wanted to be in a war. I guess it just was glorified. You know how it goes.
Well, that's where the action was in those films.
Exactly.
You wanted to be where the action was. Just
That's
like
right.
Ariel. She wanted
That's
to be where
right.
the people were.
I wanted to be where the people were.
Mm.
So fast forward until I was 23, that never really came up in real time. But 2011 had happened. At the same time, by 23, I was bouncing back and forth as an adult from one place in Philly to another place, which was Richmond, Virginia. I went back and forth between family members and really kind of just bounced based on the trouble that I was in one area. I would wear out my welcome and then I'd go to Virginia and then I'd wear out my welcome and I'd go back to Philly. And finally, I was like, this nonsense has got to stop. My dad tried to interfere or intervene, I should say, before I joined in like 1999 when there wasn't any war going on. And he's like, I really think you should join the army. This will help you get your life together. And I'm like, nah, I don't want to do that. So it wasn't until after 9/11 that I really felt compelled to go about it. And at that point, he was ready to strangle me because we were at war and he knew that I was probably going to be going to Iraq. And that wasn't what he had in mind when he told me to join. He wanted me just to get some direction and not put myself into danger. So he was worried about me for sure. And
Well, what was the holdup between 2001 and 2011?
oh, 2001, 2001, 9/11 happened. 2003, I joined the army.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So I really had to hit more of a rock bottom before I went. And so 2001, I hadn't quite hit my own rock bottom yet. I was yeah, still working on that.
For a lot of kids my age, I was a senior in high school when 9/11 happened in 2001, and lots of kids my age signed up and got right into the military, and I think a lot of us felt the call, but for me, I already wanted to be a wrestler, and I already was like, I I can't cut my hair, I won't do it. I was like, it seemed vain, but it felt like that would be the thing that would like make me go, all right, I guess this wrestling thing's dumb. And I'm and if you don't have the hair, then you don't have the look, and if you don't have the look, you don't have the it, and if you don't have the it, you don't get the skills.
That's right, man. So
So
yeah, you didn't want to part with that.
right, yeah, exactly.
I feel that, and I went in with the shaved head. I had already started shaving my head because in high school I was called Screech. I had a big afro,
Okay.
and so like I think I was 17 when I first shaved my head. It was like a rebellion to all the years being called Screech, and it actually looked good, and I liked it. So when I joined the military, I showed up for basic training, and they were lining everybody up with this like Floby thing coming out of a wall, and they were just shaving their heads, and they were like, if your head doesn't look like this guy, you're getting a haircut. And I didn't even, I didn't have to get one because my head was already down all the way. And yeah, it was interesting going into the army. I joined as an army medic, and at that point, like you had said, I dropped out of high school. I did get my GED within a year of dropping out. I dropped out the day I turned 18. Um, it's kind of
Because
funny.
that's
I
what
always,
you're allowed. Oh, you're allowed to at 16, right?
yes, yeah, you're not allowed at 16, but yeah, by 18, I dropped out and I moved down to Virginia with my sister, and we lived down there for quite a bit. And I had some trouble that I got into and was having a hard time finding my way. So when I joined the army, it was like this idea that it was going to save me and be like my call to be a better human being. And in some ways, I achieved that, and in other ways, I got more lost in the process and really had to dig a deeper hole for myself after I came home from Iraq before I would ever get to where I'm at now. And thank God I did, honestly. So
Can I ask you why the main resistance to the screech thing? Could have leaned into that and just owned it. Be like,
yeah,
yeah, cool. My hair is awesome. Like, it's
Cory, I went to 14 schools in 12 years.
wow. That's yeah. I think we're the same. I think I
Okay,
did that also. Yeah,
so you get
it's
it, man. Like you're constantly
yeah.
trying to have to fit in, make new friends.
Relearn and yeah.
Yeah,
I I totally. It might be mine might be closer to 10 or 11, but I mean in 12 years, yeah,
that's a lot.
it's constantly like relearning every like new people and like how to like exist in an environment. I dude, I fully relate. I totally get it.
Well, I
I mean,
hope in your evolution, I hope you found that it's helped you be adaptable because that's what it's done for me. I'm very adaptable to different situations.
I think like the shoot of it is that like I was so ADD. I was my and not just that, but like my eyesight was so bad that like I didn't see a lot of people and I didn't care. Like I just was like going about my thing. And I think a good portion of that was like my schools were in like nicer neighborhoods. So
Mm.
like every other kid in the school was like way more wealthy. They had way more wealthy parents and they had nicer clothes and stuff. So like I was like the poor sped kid. So so like I I had so many limited interactions with kids because like I was in the smaller classrooms with like the special needs kids and I didn't have the time and I was already by the time I was 14 I was already training to be a pro wrestler. I was already getting myself in the mindset of that's the thing I'm going to do and I'm not too worried about this place and these people. That's why I was also not very good at school
Me
because
neither.
I was like yeah I'm just doing this to get by until I can be a pro wrestler in real life.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Very similar experience. I think it kind of wore on me. The way that I fit in at each new place was I kind of learned to be the jackass in the room. Um, I was more of like so instead of just kind of blindly going through it, I put a big X on my back and was the class clown constantly. I got I got feedback from people sometimes
Like
positive.
Screech.
Yep, sometimes positive, sometimes negative, but I was definitely a class clown and I started developing that more and more and it became more of my identity because it was a quick way for me to fit in and for people to to like me. And I had a lot of self-esteem issues back then, and
Mhm.
just trying to fit in and not be bullied and try to figure out how to get through, how to survive it. And yeah, by the time I was in my senior year, I was so done with school. I just gave up completely. And uh,
I don't know if you know I don't know if you know my older siblings. But my older sister did this the same exact thing. Like
okay,
she, by senior year, she was just so over it that she had to walk away. And I'm mad at her. That was a good decision. The school was miserable for her, so I
yeah,
fully.
yeah. So I left Philly at that point. I had lived with my mom for a while. in Virginia, and we moved around from state to state. She married a guy in the Navy. That's partly why I went to so many schools. Is so, and I that also gave me an introduction to military life, and I did like that, being a part of it for those years that they were together. He turned out to be an asshole and just really abusive in different ways. So my mom was luckily she got away from him, and but it just created a lot of instability. And then my dad ended up getting custody of me when I was about 12. My sister stayed with my mom in Virginia. My dad and stepmom had a kid, and my stepmom had her own kid from a previous marriage. So I moved in with them and my brothers, and started a new life in Philly, and still went to a few different schools in that process. And I just really, yeah, I think by the time I was done, dropped out, ready to be done, and actually moved down to, like I said, with my sister down south. We actually moved to North Carolina first. She was already there. She had just had her firstborn son, William, my first nephew, and
Mhm.
she was there with his father, who is a deadbeat asshole. Took advantage of the situation. He was a con artist among many other things. So he had her down there, and he was physically abusive as well. I didn't know any of this. I just knew that I wanted to be back with my sister. We had been separated, and that my whole draw or drive was to be with her. So I moved down to this Fayetteville, North Carolina, and found out that we were going to be living in an abandoned house. We That day they had been evicted from the house across the street, and there was an abandoned house, right there. It was big. It was in the middle of the ghetto. It was the first, no, actually, it was the second ghetto that I've lived in. And It was a whole shift from living with my dad in Northeast Philly to this abandoned house. We gutted it. We had no money, so we would just like we would use resources that we had. We cleaned it as best we could. We fixed it up, and we lived there for several months. But also, we're living with this guy who was like a maniac, and my sister and I both feared for our life after a while. So he went away for a weekend, and we just packed up a U-Haul truck and bounced with her son to Virginia, back to Virginia where my mom was. We moved into a trailer park. So I've lived in like suburbs. I went to all white schools. I went to Catholic schools. I went to schools in the ghetto where I was the only white kid. I lived in all these different places and were around so many different types of people. Uh, Blessed that way, I think. But
I
it was,
mean, that goes back to something I say often is about like experience is the best teacher. So like having multiple experiences in a bunch of things gives you the life experience to like be able to judge what's a good idea and what's a bad idea and why something's a good idea and why something's a bad idea. It gives you better judgment
hmm, I think it
for
does, but I think it takes a while though, Corey.
right. Yeah.
Because
Oh,
I think
retrospect helps too.
it does. Yeah. So when you're first, you're coming up through the school age years, and high school as well. You're learning your identity and forming who you are, and that's based on like your parents. It's based on your school, your friends, and usually you're building on that year after year, not replacing it every year. And so there was like a bit of an identity crisis through my 20s. I think that's true for many people, but this was like a severe identity crisis. And the um, first time I ever contemplated suicide, I was 18. I was living in a trailer park, and we had our little small group of friends, and we did have our one friend had a gun, and I had it with me this night. Laying in my bed, I actually put it in my mouth and thought about um, killing myself. And I don't know why I didn't that night. I think I was just more experimenting with what it would feel like or what it felt like to have that power taken away. Um,
Mhm.
but that was the first time. And like I said, so when I joined the army, I was looking to get saved. I was already broken. I was already so tired and in this identity crisis, and at this point had found drug and alcohol as well.
Why did you choose the army when you were raised with Navy stuff? Like, why did you decide Army was the way to go?
I didn't decide Army. My life circumstances decided Army for me. At this point, I had already had some criminal charges from when I was 19 and 20.
Right.
And with my record being what it was, the Army were the only ones that would take me.
Okay.
Yeah. Even the Marines, they had a stricter background check policy. So, um, unfortunately, well,
Yeah.
and we're
Selective,
fortunate.
right? The, that's the whole gimmick. The few of the proud, like the whole.
Yeah.
That's like they're very they're
Yes.
very selective about who gets to. They're very elite.
Yes. And at this time, the Iraq War was going on. The Army was like, please, we'll take anybody.
Right.
So and I scored high on the ASVAB test, which is the military entrance exam, and that's how I
Yeah.
was able to select medic as my job. And it was also the first time that I realized I wasn't an idiot.
Good.
Oh,
Those are great revelations to make with yourself.
yeah,
That like
right.
it hopefully improves some self worth because I think it for sure did for me as well because like I always thought I was an idiot. Like I referred my I was a special ed kid, so like I always thought I was stupid, and I always thought that that like I wasn't. I I mean I never um I just had really bad self worth because like I knew what I wanted to be and I knew that like I was like special in some ways, but I still thought on top of that I was
Special.
also special, like stupid, and I had to grow up to see that it was not that way. But bullies be bullying
They
and
do, man.
convincing you that you're not worthy of the time, not worthy of the amount of effort it would take to get to know you and understand that you're uh, you offer something, you have some value.
And even understanding that you have something to offer at all,
Right.
you
Right.
know, because that was a big part of it. I never thought, looking back in my early years, I never thought I would be married. I never thought I'd have a family. I figured that I would be dead midway through my 20s. I kind of surprised myself by the time I was about 29, 30. Was like, wow, I'm still here. I need to figure this out.
Yeah, I for sure uh, had very similar thoughts. I I think we're very similar in that. Like I just excuse me. There's a train coming through. Coming through. Hold for train.
Another obstacle in life, man. Just trucking on through, man. I think we're good.
No, I mute the this this you know this has only been happening for the last 7 months since I've been here.
New place, yeah. I
Yeah.
kind of like it actually. It's like special effects, man. It's like the train wreck of life that we're talking about right now at times. And good sound effects, man.
It's just chugging on through.
Yep.
Just chugging on through.
Seriously, man, because it really was a train wreck. I mean, even like my military experience, I did learn a lot. Becoming a medic was really cool. I love the training. The training is the best part of the military, at least in my perspective. And
So you
and
still have to go through boot camp and everything. Like you still have to
oh yeah,
do like the basic training
oh yeah. As a medic, yeah, you
as,
do.
as a medic. You have to do it all.
The first thing every enlisted soldier, so non-officer, but even officers have their own training. I can't speak to it, but all the enlisted folk, no matter what your job's going to be, the first thing you have to learn is how to be infantry, because at any point in time you may have to change roles in the middle of a battlefield, and I did see that firsthand. I mean, my roles changed depending on what our mission was and what was needed at the time. But yeah, the training is exceptional. The training is a lot of fun, and the camaraderie that you get when you're going through these big changes with other people. They're all young. Everybody's just forming this new identity as a soldier, and it builds long-lasting relationships. It's really cool. So those were the pros.
I think another part of me not joining was the fact that my eyesight's so bad. Like I just
Dude,
thought,
man, Cory, my eyesight is garbage, man, and I had to wear these big brown glasses. They call them birth control glasses, and it's
yeah,
easy to
that's
see
I've
by.
heard that.
Yeah,
In the Army Now, did you remember that movie?
that's a great
With,
movie, man.
Pauly Shore and Andy Dick.
Yeah,
That's what they called them in that movie. That's how
I
I
don't
knew
know
it.
why, but those Pauly Shore movies really hit when we were teenagers, man.
Oh yeah, yeah, dude. I
So
was just talking about. I was just talking about how they're making a. I think I heard that they were making a sequel to Son-in-Law.
okay,
I I'll see that. I'll
I
see
will
that.
too. I will too. I'd be curious about it anyway.
And
Yeah. So when I went into the training, basic training and medic training, immediately following, I was told that the unit that I was in was going to be going to Iraq. So then we switched to training right here at Fort Dix, New Jersey, and we mobilized to Iraq in 2004, 2005. I was there for the whole year of 2005, and a very hot place. It was about 150 degrees. There really are these things called camel spiders, which can get pretty large. But we saw a lot of small ones, and they're like this scorpion thing, pretty wicked looking. A lot of things in the desert are wicked, including the temperatures and just the overall conditions. The people, man, to live that kind of life is impressive and oppressive at the same time, you know. So
what's the, I mean, what was the if you spent the entire year there? I know, like that's a pretty like sort of common thing is to like be over there while things are happening home, like Christmas. It doesn't matter. Like holidays, birthday. None of that matters as much. Was that something like that you could explain if it's like if it's any kind of different way celebrating that stuff because that brings the camaraderie and the brotherhood even closer because you're like doing that with those people.
yeah, and I think a lot of the soldiers who were younger than me or that didn't have a lot of the experiences, that was a big deal for them. I had been bouncing around and was used to leaving people quickly that,
Hmm.
and I didn't have a family then. You know,
Right.
a lot of those guys who were older than me had families, and I could see the hardship that it that cost them. Honestly, the biggest thing for me that made me wish that I was home was when Hurricane Katrina happened. At that point, it was like late into our deployment to Iraq. You could really start to feel like we were just wasting time there. All you see is burning oil fields out on your convoys. It's just barren, broken land, holes everywhere in the street from large mortar rounds going off, IED explosions and stuff, and just like this constant feeling of insecurity. And here's this like major event back home that my unit, the rest of my unit that wasn't with us, was going to respond to, and that was really hard. I That's why I really wanted to join, was to be more a part of like hurricane stuff and hurricane relief, and if we are going to war that meant we were really protecting freedom and stuff. So you
Hmm.
know, I feel like that wasn't too big of a deal for me, but that other parts of it were, and lost a good friend over there too. Give Elizabeth Jacobson a shout out. She was an Air Force soldier, and she was part of security detail, and her IED blew up right outside of our base. Um, really cool person to know, and I know her family really honors her still to this day. But that was just like the reality of being there just sucked, and it just kind of sucked the life out of you. And you come home, and I no longer was like an active duty soldier. I was, and my unit that I was with was going to be disbanding, meaning they weren't going to exist anymore. So it was up to us to find units in our area to join. So, and we had 6 months to do so. In that time period, I was like just really drinking heavily. When you first come home, you're a hero. It's not like Vietnam when everybody was spat on and treated like shit. You know, I came home and we were really treated like gold. You know, we everybody wanted to buy drinks at the bar. People were buying our food. I would, you know, fly somewhere and I'd end up in first class. You know, only time in my life I've ever flown first class was as a soldier. You know, it was just really cool how people kind of took look after you, but it's all centered around drinking, really, and then also meeting the wrong girl at the wrong time, and kind of like spiraling more down this path.
Doesn't that part happen to us all though?
It does, man. You know, you attract the people in your life who probably are more like you than not at times. And you know, I was just attracting broken people. You know, in relationships. I definitely my partners always were broken, and you know, we would fight a lot, and just you know, it was that was always a negative thing. But this was a really destructive relationship, and really took me to a whole nother rock bottom. I never did find a location, a National Guard unit to sign up with, but somehow my name got centered or assigned to a unit in New Jersey, um, in Woodbury, New Jersey. At this point, I was in Virginia a couple years past my deployment. It was 2008, and I get a call out of nowhere that the unit that I was attached to was going to be deploying. It was a sergeant from that unit, and that I either had to report or I was going to be considered AWOL. At this point, I'm sleeping on people's couches and drinking and drugging as much as I can. Like to the point where I'm doing something, I'm binging one night or one long weekend and just wondering why I'm not dead yet. Why didn't that kill me? And
Mhm.
luckily, I didn't have the balls to just go ahead and do it all the way, you know. And
I
my
think
sister,
I think that would have probably been the case for me too. I'm just saying, like the many times that I had thought those thoughts, and I thought had those like feelings of worthlessness, you know,
Mhm.
and had the thoughts of like, oh well, no one would notice, and the people who would notice would be better off. Remember having those thoughts very clearly, and I'm very glad I didn't have the balls because like I I mean I never tested it out and tasted what gunmetal tastes like. Like that was never
Mhm.
something I didn't get myself close enough to an environment where that would be an option, I guess.
Mhm. Yeah.
Uh, but
Yeah.
it was
I,
for sure uh, uh, like probably looking at the way life has gone and where I'm at now, I'm like, oh man, I'm so glad I never had the balls to do that.
I'm
Really.
glad you didn't too.
Yes. Thank you.
You're a wonderful human being, man, and you're sharing so much of yourself and other people with the world, and creative, man. You're so creative and sharing that creativity. So yeah, we
Mhm.
would have lost a good soul, man. I'm glad that you didn't figure it out just the same as me. And but it's a really important thing to talk about for just a second because suicide affects all different types of people in all different situations. And it doesn't have to be somebody that lived such a drastic childhood or instability. You know, it comes in all flavors and for all reasons. And you know, yeah, you know, we could say we didn't have the balls for it, but ultimately, I think each of us we felt some form of hope. There was like a little bit of curiosity that there may still be something out there for me. And some people just don't even have that speck of hope. And you know, it's tragic because we're both really good examples and certainly not the only ones, but important for examples for people to see that you could be at rock bottom. You could want your life to end. You could feel complete hopelessness and this feeling like I don't belong anywhere. I felt like there was no purpose in my life and that I would never have purpose past Iraq. And my life is consumed with purpose. That's all I have is purpose, man. I have a reason to get up every day. Like the thought of suicide is so fucking so distant from me at this point because I have so much to lose because my life is filled with purpose. And it takes a while to get there.
There's also inside of that. For me, was like I had such a relationship with my mom and my siblings that I didn't want to leave them with a situation like that.
Yeah,
You know, I because like that would be all they'd remember. Like they wouldn't they wouldn't remember all the best stuff because we had such joy and like such fun really with each other that I wouldn't want to like leave that impression
yeah,
because once that's on the table, I don't. I think, man, one of the most the best parts about like my journey from the very start, thinking about it, is pro wrestling. Pro wrestling has been the thing that has everything we talk about really ever always comes back to pro wrestling, or like some references I'll like hear something and I'll be like, oh, that makes me think of this angle that happened in the WWF back in the 90s. Or
right.
like everything goes back to like the encyclopedic fandom of pro wrestling that I have, and then being able to be on both sides of the barricade for it.
That's
Like
awesome.
that.
I want to come see you wrestle sometime, man.
I'll, I'll invite you whenever that is.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. At some point when you get back to it, we'll
Right. Whenever that is, I'll let you know.
yes. Yeah. So that sense of family and belonging was strong for you, and for me too. My sister one night at 2 a.m. Sat on the phone with me. I was just tired, man. That was the theme over and over again. I was just exhausted, just tired of going forward, and didn't want to go forward anymore. And she's like, "We need you. Your nephews." At that point, I already had four nephews from her, and she remarried. She married a guy named Milton, who she's still with today, and a business owner with, and we'll talk about that soon. But four beautiful boys, and she's like, "They need you, and we don't want to live our life without you." And that really stuck with me. And she got me to the VA hospital to get help for PTSD instead of going for that second tour in Iraq. Um, I have I have three gens in my life that really saved my life in a very short period of time. My sister Jennifer got me to that VA hospital for PTSD treatment, and when I was there, second-handedly found cancer on my back by a nurse practitioner named Jennifer who did a skin exam. I had eczema, and she's like, "Well, have you ever had a skin exam?" No. Took a mole off my back, and it was melanoma. If I had gone to Iraq for that second tour, that
Mhm.
melanoma would have killed me,
Mhm.
and it's extremely fatal. And I had to wait, like a week or so for the biopsy to come back to see if the cancer had spread. They took out lymph nodes under my arm, and in that time period, I was like, "Oh my God, I don't want to die." You know,
Mhm.
I had already given myself an ultimatum. When I got to that VA hospital, I said either I'm going to move past this point in my life and be self-sufficient, or I'm done. This is it. This is my last take. And then that cancer diagnosis happened. They removed it. I realized I didn't want to die. Got a job working at a local community hospital in Coatesville. It was far away from any place that I had ever been. It, started renting a house. It was right in the ghetto. My third ghetto that I've been in. I love living with different types of people, and I love the Black community, man. I've always been welcomed, and always there's always these families that look out for you, and Dante and the White family was that family for me there, and it created this lifelong friendship. I was able to help him, escape from gang activity and get a job and to this day now he's the father and lives a great life. But and we're still close. But yeah, it was like through this time period, I was starting to get my foot in the ground, and I met my wife Jennifer, uh,
Mhm.
and it was like
Or Jen.
friends, man. My
Well,
three,
you know, like the everything they say, everything boils down to like a rule of three, and like all like major religions, it always comes to that holy trinity. There's always that like Father, Son, Holy Ghost. Every like ancient religion for all times, there's the rule of three is
yeah,
like very, very, very important.
seen it play
And
out so many times, man, for sure.
I, I mean, I use it for comedy. Like when it comes to, I use it for comedy and for pro wrestling. For when it comes to like when I'm teasing something, like in a match, like if I'm structuring out a match and I go like, all right, well, I'm gonna go for it this time, and I'm gonna mess it up. I'm gonna go for it this second time. The guy's gonna duck it, or the guy's gonna get out of the way. He's gonna outsmart it, and then I go for it the second time, the fans will pop even more because they'll have seen me go for it twice and not hit it. And then
Yeah,
when I hit it, they'll be like, "Fuck yeah!" Like
that's awesome, man.
so
Yeah, the
like
explosion. Yes.
yeah, it's like the kink on a hose. You know what I mean? Like the way you can kind of manipulate the audience reactions to things. And I it's really one of my favorite things ever is like getting audience reactions. I told you yesterday we had a little party over here last night. We're just like a kind of like a friendsgiving, but for Valentine's Day. So
Yeah.
we had a couple people over, and we were just like playing games and eating snacks and stuff, and we were playing this one card game, and every time somebody won, I was like, "Come on, like because it was like a almost like Cards Against Humanity, but it wasn't that.
Yeah, that's a
It was
fun
like
game.
where somebody had to get like the best answer, that kind of thing. And
Yeah,
whenever somebody won the card, I'd be like, "Let's give it up, let's give it up." And then I was like, "It's my goal to get everybody here clapping for me.
yeah,
I eventually want to win one of these." And they're like, "You get enough clapping. Stop.
yeah,
You'll be."
yeah.
I was like,
That's
"Oh,
awesome, man. Yeah, I feel that though. I like that. I like that as well. I really like presenting my story to people. I like talking and engaging in front of crowds. Just energizes me, and I'm sure you feel the same way. It's like
yeah."
whatever nervousness you had just gets melted away into this intense energy, and it carries you for days, really.
Yeah, well, my friend Brian was like, he's like, "How much validation do you need? Like, you don't you seek enough and get enough with the comedy and with the podcast and the pro wrestling and all that. Like, we'll give it to you though, sure.
Yeah,
If you get one, we'll clap for you.
yeah.
But I never got one. I never won. I I
You didn't get
completely
one. Oh man, you got to play again.
can't win them all.
No, you can't.
I,
No.
I,
So my dad, soon after I met my wife and we were dating, living together in Coatesville, my dad talked me into going to chiropractic school, which was really amazing on his part because I had failed so many times. I had failed sobriety so many times. I had failed school so many times. I had failed relationships so many times. And he was a chiropractor. As you know, he started this practice in 1995. Your mom and my dad have known each other for a long time. That's how our families connected. And,
right.
I've gotten to know a lot of your family now at this point, and they're all great
Yeah.
people. Um, but yeah, despite all my failures, he talked me into it. And I've got lucky enough to have two moms, and both of them have always been very supportive of what I'm doing. And uh, so with his blessing and my wife's blessing, I embarked on this journey of chiropractic school. My wife was pregnant. We took our 1 month old daughter up to upstate New York in the Finger Lakes, and I started school expecting failure, and I ended up, along the way, winning Student of the Year award, Chiropractic Technique award, service awards. Graduated second in my class, and first place was my best friend Joss Preet, and she she didn't get anything other than an A the entire time in chiropractic school. I still don't understand how she did that, but she just came so easy to her. But she still worked her butt off. But she was amazing.
Did
So
you like
shout out
break
to
the trend in your head to
yeah,
expect failure, never expect failure again?
yes, yeah. So shout out to Jazz and that. But it was just a story of perseverance, man, and that around any bad situation, you could come right into a good situation. And but it is work. You do have to put your best foot forward. And this journey, this evolution, has all been centered around just me trying to be a better human being, and just trying to figure out how I can be the best version of myself on a regular basis. And I know that's a common theme in your podcast, and a common theme in who you are. And I think that's why we're drawn to each other.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I I was gonna ask you this earlier, but how familiar are you with the law of attraction and and
And
Abraham Hicks and all that?
I definitely believe in that stuff. I'm familiar with the Law of Attraction book and the documentary came out, and have seen it play out in my own life. And I do have a story that I'll share when you're ready. But
Sure,
yeah,
sure, I'm ready whenever when
okay,
oh, you don't have to wait for pitches here. You
okay.
can
No,
swing away all day.
I just didn't. I know that you were bringing it up, so I wanted to make sure that you finished, the law of attraction point that you wanted to make. But so when I was expecting to go back for that second tour in Iraq, it was 2008. I did start training with that unit in Woodbury, New Jersey, and I was sleeping on a cousin's couch and hanging out with her. But at this point, because it was in New Jersey and I was living in Virginia, at this point my life was such a train wreck, and I was so just reckless in my behavior that I was showing up to formation just tossed, just out all night partying and just showing up. And I think it was like part of this self-sabotage that I had always been a part of, showing up to formation smelling like alcohol, hadn't done a bunch of drugs that night, and just like it was completely reckless. And I said to my unit, like, I can't go. I want to go to Iraq with you guys. I'm not trying to get out of my tour with you, but I can't help people as a medic if I'm not able to help myself. So they sent me to substance abuse treatment at the VA first. And when I was there, I only had $20 in my pocket. But I was very, very destitute at this point in time. And I knew, though, once I started training, eventually I was going to get a paycheck from the Army. It was going to go into a bank account that I didn't even have access to. I didn't even have an ATM card. My sister had to help me get all that while I was away. So I just had a little bit of cash that she gave me on my way into the substance abuse program, and uh, I didn't need money for anything there. On one of my last days there, another gentleman was going to be going home, but he wasn't able to catch the shuttle that the VA provided, and so he wasn't going to be able to get home in time. So he was going to have to stay at the VA longer, and he really wanted to go home. So I gave him the last $20 that I had to catch a cab or a bus, whatever, however he was going to get home. And I didn't think anything of it. I didn't have any money. We went to training down in Texas. My unit picked me up. We immediately went down to Texas, and they were buying things from the little store and stuff, and I didn't have anything yet. I was broke as a joke, and it was fine. I didn't. They provided me 3 meals a day, and I was used to it, so used to not eating at times, so it was fine for me. But at that time, my sister's best friend and also her husband's, so my brother-in-law's sister, the same person, Diana, was unexpectedly and tragically murdered outside of her home. She was shot in some kind of a gang initiation thing down in Virginia Beach. And I got this message while I was in Texas, and I knew that I needed to be home with my family. Um, but I had nothing. I had no money or anything. And my dad gave me the money for the plane ticket, and my unit knowing my sergeant knew that I didn't have anything. Several people knew my story. I mean, they knew that they had sent me to substance abuse and stuff like that. And I was approached by my sergeant the night before I left, and he's like, "Look, I know you don't have anything, so me and the guys all chipped in and put some money together for you." And he handed me a stack of $20 bills, man.
Wow.
There was $180 and $20 bills. I had just given my last $20 bill away, maybe
Wow.
4 weeks prior to that, and when I needed it,
I'm paying it forward shit right there.
yeah, man, yeah,
Yeah.
and I've been doing that, my whole life, but even more since that moment, and my wife has to remind me not to give everything away.
Mhm.
I'm that type of person, and
Makes total sense. I understand more than most, I'm sure.
I believe you, man. I definitely do. And yeah, so stuck with all of it, and married two beautiful daughters. My wife and I are strong in our relationship. We support each other. She supported me through chiropractic school. I'm supporting her through her new exploration of music, and what that'll mean for her future, because she's so talented in so many ways, and helping her achieve her highest potential is one of my biggest goals now.
It's so cool that you like joined into that venture with her, and you're like a level of supportive that most people uh, don't even like consider for a second being that level of supportive.
Man,
So it's
I
it's
owe her
ins-
so much.
it's inspiring.
Thank you. I owe her so much, man. Take care of the people that take care of you, and choose thy love and love thy choice. It's a Quaker saying that hangs up in her family's house. She's got an old Quaker family here since the beginning of the United States. Her father, who isn't Quaker, but he's got two family members that signed the Declaration of Independence, and then she's got family members that were part of establishing Quakertown, uh,
Wow.
and a really old family, old traditions. She's a beacon of stability and support, and what we've built together, I would never replace for anything, man. There isn't anything out there that could pull me away from it. It's just, it's so wonderful, and like I said, it's purpose, man. And that is the key. A life of purpose. That's the best antidepressant. You may still need antidepressants. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that it's the end all be all. But if you have purpose and gratitude, man, it carries you so far, and really, it's something to always come back to.
So just a couple more, a couple more really quick things,
Yeah,
and I'll send you off. I'll send you off into the sunset with a hot dog and a handshake, and we can go about our day.
yeah,
Uh, the um, so what's really important, and what a thing I talk about on here a lot is the fact that things are on the record. I love the fact that like this stuff is gonna live beyond us. This
yeah.
stuff is going to live beyond me. I mean, this is I feel like if nothing else comes from this, I can have people who meet me, and like I don't have to give them the entire life story. I'd be like, yeah, just listen to my podcast. You'll
I
get
love
like time
that.
on who I was and where I was. I I love that like everything's on the record. So like I have had conversations, like I had conversations with my mom on here and told her stuff on the record. So like I can go back and listen to that, you know, on the sad day that I might have to lose her, and I had conversations with friends of mine on here who are no longer with us,
Mhm.
and I have on the record me telling them that like I love them and that they're special, and it's also a it's a timestamp in when I'm listening back to it, like who I was in that time. It's a good like record keeping for me to go like, all right, when we recorded this, and the slate board in the beginning said the date on it. Oh, what was going on at that date? Like, where was I? where was I living? What was going on in my life? And that I love that so much. So on the record, I want to tell you how glad I am that you hung with me here today. I'm so glad that we know each other. I'm so glad I'm so optimistic and looking forward to whatever we decide to collaborate on in the future. And I just wanted to thank you for your time and your attention and your effort, because that is a currency. That is a currency far more valuable than any dollars and cents to me. And
That's
with
all.
that, with that being said, if I kind of twist it around here on you, I say I'm giving you the floor on this one and saying, like, if you have any questions that you'd like me to answer, if you have any things you'd like to say to me for the next minute or so, go right ahead.
I absolutely will, man, because I'm inspired by you and how you've been able to reach people and how excited you are to reach people and share your messages and the honesty and genuinity at which you do it and it invites that other person on the show to be genuine back at you and that's a gift that a lot of people don't have. You have an affable uh, personality and just way about you, man. Just an immediate draw to you, and I could tell we're going to be brothers forever, man. And
Good.
I appreciate this connection, and I think we have plenty to talk about. I do want to give my sister's company real quick a shout out because cool part of that story, that tragedy that happened with Deanna.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, my nephew CJ, her son, came out and saw his mom after she had been shot in the head, and it was
Wow.
a very tragic thing. And you know, CJ has a father, but his father has his own struggles and wasn't always able to be what he needed to be for him. So my sister and my brother-in-law really took part in co-raising him and often raised them fully themselves during his father's hardships. And in that time period, man, this young man grew into just an outstanding human being, a lovable person. He's just like us, man. You would love him, Cory, and hopefully I'm going to get them on a podcast with you because they have a real cool story and a real cool story to share
Yeah.
with their business and stuff. But so CJ has invested with some of the money that his mother left behind. And my sister, my brother-in-law, and him started this Richmond, Virginia cannabis company. Um, Very ethically based cannabis company. Their products are very thoughtful. They vet whoever they're if it's another party product that they're selling, they vet them so fully, and then they make their own products and are getting very sustainable organic materials to make their products. They have a cafe shop in Richmond, Virginia. They sell baked goods, coffee. They make beverages, all infused with THC, and it's all legal through the Hemp Act because it's extracted from hemp, but it's
Mhm.
all legit stuff, and they do send products. They ship all across the United States. They have teas, lemonades. They have brownies, cookies, cakes. They have their own gummy
Are
line.
they able to like sell like flour
They can
or
if
ship it at least?
they can that they haven't gotten into that because um, it's I'll let them speak on that. At some point,
Okay.
we'll have them on,
Okay.
and they'll speak to when they're going to incorporate flour into what they're doing. But they're very therapeutic based. The product that I carry here in my chiropractic office in Southampton, PA, Natural Health Chiropractic, www.drnickmayo.com. But I do sell their products here, some of them that are shelf stable, and I love it for my patients with pain and sleep problems. I stopped drinking in 2016 along with my wife. We just said like on a New Year's resolution, let's see how long we can go. And I actually replaced alcohol with THC, and it's made a huge difference in my life. I love the self-reflection that I get from it. A lot of times, the anxiety that I used to feel from it and why I stopped using it a long time ago was just me analyzing myself and not being comfortable with who I was and not wanting to change it either. So I distanced myself from it because it made me too reflective. Now I love who I am. I love where I'm at, and I love that reflection because I'm constantly just trying to be better than that, you know?
That's inspiring.
Thanks, man.
That's something that's got someone's gonna feel that. Someone, not just like saying like, oh, because that's on the show and people are hearing it. People who are hearing it are gonna feel it, but the people who are around you are going to continue to feel that. Like just through just through like being in your presence
Yeah.
and
And sharing.
hearing you talking about things and then sharing this stuff for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Because that's it, man. I mean, you could have all these things about yourself or messages to share, but if you don't get it out, nobody knows it, you know. And it's therapeutic for me. It's selfish on my end. I love sharing my story and where I come from because it makes me feel better. But I also take a lot of comfort in knowing, like you were saying, at any point this could end for me. You know, life can end. It's very fragile, but that message lives on. And man, what a beautiful thing to leave behind. And my kids can look back on it. You know, people struggling can still find this material. And you know, if even if we just help one or two people, man, what a beautiful thing.
I feel like I said from the start of doing this, that was why I wanted to call it evolving, because it's gonna not just become something more for me and become something different. It's gonna evolve and grow into something else, but also like you can evolve with me. That's why evolving with Cory Kastle is on the screen. It's like you can evolve with me, or like if this stuff if like I'm not here anymore and this doesn't become a huge hit while I'm alive, maybe someone will hear these messages one day and their perspectives on certain things might change, or their outlooks might change, and like they can see like, hey, look what he did with what he had, and be inspired in some way. I'll feel like that's a little bit like a like why I'm here, why I'm on this planet, like what I'm here to do. And I'm incredibly grateful. Incredibly grateful that I found this. I say all the time that when I was a kid, I wanted to be a stand-up comedian and I wanted to be a pro wrestler. I never said I wanted to be a podcast host because podcast didn't exist yet. So
Yep.
if you ever feel like you're purposeless, maybe your purpose doesn't exist yet.
Hmm.
Maybe just stick it out. Give yourself the grace to go like, maybe the thing that I'm looking for doesn't know to find me because it doesn't exist yet.
And explore so that you can find that thing.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. The the like who you want to be and who you currently are aren't always the exact same thing.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well said.
Oh,
And
I wanted to say to you, and I wanted to laugh about this. I don't know if I ever told you. I doubt I did. But you were talking about Screech, and I was laughing because uh, I I have a couple Screech stories.
okay,
So I did celebrity boxing back in 2010.
okay,
Celebrity boxing did a card that was like half pro wrestling, half boxing. And Screech had just done the Hulk Hogan celebrity pro wrestling show that was it was on TLC or like CMT or something. It was on TV, and like Screech was on that show, and they booked him on this celebrity boxing card, and and uh, I I went. There was like a press conference for the event that was on the Thursday, and I went to that, and I I'd never talked to him. I didn't. We didn't meet. Like I think we happened to be there, but like I don't remember that at all. And then on the Saturday, my friend, uh, I wrestled my friend Billy, who just recently passed. But Billy was like talking to Screech about me when I wasn't there, and we had like this like after party thing after the event was over, uh, and we actually we talked during the pre-show. There was like there was like people in the ring talking about talking about their matches and stuff. And I was in the ring for a little bit, and then I got out of the ring, and I was sitting on the apron of the ring, and he came over and sat next to me and started asking me questions. And because I was kind of ignoring him because like everybody was up his ass, and I just don't want anyone to feel like I have any like I don't know.
Superior
I just
motive. Yeah.
everybody was like marking out for him, and that wasn't what I was gonna do. Like I think there's the importance of the guardrail, right? The in wrestling and in my mindset is that guardrail exists to know that I belong on the side of it where the show is and
Mm.
not where the fans are. And that's why I don't mark out for people. Like it's not like I'll give people their flowers if like I have to, but like I don't it's not I'm not gonna go. Oh, I'm not gonna like select. I'm not gonna like. What's the word I'm trying to say? Like geek out. I'm not gonna fangirl. That's not
Yeah.
gonna be a thing
Yeah.
I ever do. But a lot of people were doing that for Screech, and then he came up to me and he started talking to me about wrestling because I was in the ring wrestling, and I guess he saw that I was pretty good at it, and and we started talking about comedy, and he then started talking about like the public perception and blah blah blah, and like we were having some pretty decent conversations about comedy, and then the after party, we went to the after party, and he had just been talking to my friend Billy, and Billy told him some more personal details about me, and then he came up to me and he was like, "Hey, is it true that you just got out of a long relationship like today?" And I was like, "Well, no, it was yesterday." And he was like, "How long of a relationship was it?" And I was like, "It was it was about 3 years." And he was like, "I'm gonna get you laid tonight."
Ah, that's awesome.
So I had Screech walking around the bar with me, introducing me to women like for a
Wow.
few hours.
Shout out to Samuel Powers. Rest in peace.
So then he was like he did you ever see the movie Funny People with Adam Sandler?
No.
Okay. Well, like the Seth what the heck is the guy's name? Damn it. Something Rollins. Not Rollins. No, damn it. Seth something. He's
Okay.
the guy. He has
Oh,
that laugh.
Seth Rogen.
Seth Rogen. Yes, that guy. He he um he like works with Adam Sandler, and like Adam Sandler like tries to put him over to people and like tells everybody this guy's funny. And Screech was doing that to me. He was like, "This guy's a funny comedian. He's a really good wrestler, and he's got a huge wiener." He was telling this to girls at the bar, and then he's like, and he told these like three girls, and then he was like, "Okay, well, see you later. I'll let you sit and talk to him." And then he went away, and these girls just were going. They were going. So, like, what's your deal? You just hang out with Screech all the time? And like, I just met him a couple days ago. I don't know him.
He's my wingman. What do you want from me?
And then they were like, "Will you buy us a drink?" And I was like, "No,
Yeah,
that's
you
not
buy
how
me
this
a
works."
drink.
I'm like, "He told you I was a comedian. I was a wrestler. You buy me."
That's right, man.
And I mean, and then and then he convinced me to smoke hookah. I had never done that before. I
Mhm.
smoked hookah for the first and only time with Screech. So I'll have that as a time stamp for the rest of my
That's
life.
right, man. Some Samuel Powers reference right there. That's awesome, man. Yeah.
Yeah, and he did. I'm pretty sure. Didn't he like kill a guy or something?
I don't know. Something happened with that.
Like,
Yeah.
like
I think I,
I
s- I think I distanced myself from any information about him because I was like, no, I'm not him.
yeah,
He may have been a
I
good guy. I don't know. You know.
you when I was a kid, I got called Dawson all the time because they said I looked like James Vanderbeek,
Okay. Well,
and
there's worse things than that, man.
my first name is James, so it was easy for everyone to call me Dawson. And I distanced myself from that. I was like, I'm not James Vanderbeek.
Yeah.
I'm not. But I mean, look at me now. I look nothing like the guy.
I think now you may be more popular than James Vanderbeek.
Maybe, maybe.
I don't think he's around anymore. I don't know what happened to him.
I bet you if I had James Vanderbeek on an episode of my podcast, more people would know who he was and click the podcast and
Okay.
listen to it than they would know who I
That's
was.
that's very possible, Corey.
But I don't know. I don't know what like IRL popularity is like. I mean, maybe more people like me in real life. I don't know the guy. I don't know what he's really like.
Yeah, yeah. I think our age group would know him, just from all the movies back in the day. But I don't know what he's been in a long time.
The last thing I remember seeing him in was Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
Yeah, that was a while ago.
Yeah, so that
And
was
even then, we hadn't seen him in a while when he was in that.
yeah. So who knows? James Vanderbeek.
Man,
Tell your people to call my people.
that's right, man. We covered a lot of ground today, Corey.
Do you let me do the one last thing. It's not. I don't want to say it's the one last thing. It's definitely one of the last things. Uh, I talking about the timeline of things, the timestamp. I do this segment that I call audio time travel. Okay, so discussing how this is going to be something that outlives us. This recording is going to be go beyond us. Let's say not to say that you're not going to be with us, but let's say 20 years into the future, the people who care about you the very most, your wife, your daughters, stumble across this recording. Let's say in 2045, they stumble across this recording. The next things you say are going directly to their ears. What are you telling them?
I hope you found purpose in life. I hope you're living a productive and happy life and getting the most out of your experience. I know that it's hard sometimes, but I hope that enough of us paved a way for you to see a good way of living. And I hope that there's enough left of, I hope we left enough behind for you and that we didn't destroy everything for you and that you have a prosperous and healthy future. And, I live my life full of love and all that I created was created out of love. So you were created out of love too. And good luck. How's that?
Perfect. That's
Uh,
exactly the ideal audio time travel segment.
okay,
Uh,
good. But I
do
mean it,
you
man.
do any impressions at all?
I don't
No.
know, don't sing. I did think about the comedic route for a little while, but just never. More. I guess probably improv would have worked for me, maybe.
Hmm. So hypothetically, let's say I've gifted you this show. This is your first episode, your pilot episode for your new podcast, Evolving with Dr. Nick, in a very Jerry Springer's final thought type of way. The most valuable takeaways that would inspire people to be a better version of themselves tomorrow than they are today. What are you saying to those people?
And most people are wondering how to be happy or how to be happier in life. And the happiness is right in front of you. It's when you embrace life and choose your purpose and persevere through hard times and let those times be building blocks for you instead of crippling disabilities, and I was able to get back to where I'm at because so many people helped me along the way. And also because one thing I've never been shy from is asking for help. Um, if I need help, I need help, and I don't mind looking for it and embracing it. So ask for help, persevere, and embrace life, man. Find the things that you are happy about, that you can be grateful for, and focus on those and not the things that you don't have or that make you miserable.
Also pretty ideal.
Okay,
Pretty ideal. That's exactly the way I envision those segments going.
that's awesome. That's good,
The,
Cory, man.
so normally, I would say whatever the person told me their impression was, I would say now use that impression and say what the way we close out the show is I usually have in the impression have the guests say, "Be fun, have safe, keep evolving." But since you don't have an impression, just say it as you. Be fun, have safe, keep evolving.
You froze on me, Cory, so I didn't hear that last part.
Oh, it's the phrase is be fun, have safe, keep evolving.
Be fun, have safe, and keep evolving with Cory Kastle and Dr. Nick Mayo.
Thanks for hanging with me, Dr. Nick. I hope you have a great evening. Enjoy your weekend,
My,
and
my, my band is playing tonight. Shout out to Mick and the Motive. You can find us on Facebook. But yeah, she's playing tonight. They'll be playing some rock and roll at Pal's Tap House in Huntington Valley, PA.
F yes. I'll include the link to the band's Facebook page in the description of the episode. Check them out. Check out RVA and man, everybody who's joining us. If this is the first time you've ever checked out Evolving, uh, maybe make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't so you don't miss future episodes, and maybe go back in the archives and see if there's any other things you like. The currency of your time and effort are so important to me. I value them so much. Uh, be careful about the stuff you consume, and if you're consuming some of my stuff, I'm excited for you because you might be unboxing something that maybe you didn't know you really wanted. And I'm so grateful that you've decided to spend any of the currency of your time and effort on listening to me and my conversations. Uh, be kind to yourself. Be kind to others. Pay things forward, and learn. Learn as many lessons as you can. Be fun. Have safe. Keep evolving. Thanks for joining me.